Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Good Morning Brownsville. My name is Frankie. This is Roman. Hope you stay throughout the course of this program. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Republican Party of Cameron County. Good morning, Roman. How's your day starting out so far?
Sorry, I was trying to mute and unmute, not to cough in everybody's face. It's been going great. Had an interesting conversation for about 15 minutes ago, and from a friend, and talking about running for office. And it's always great to have conversations with people about the possibility of running for office. And I do welcome the fact that people communicate that they're interested in running for office, especially as Republicans. Regardless of what some people in our party want. I'm going to be just as relevant and invested in trying to get good candidates to run as Republicans and do the job that other people don't want to do.
Roman, that's interesting that you say that, because that was apparent to me during the city of Brownsville municipal races, where controversy arose, possibly started from our platform, where we questioned leadership within the Republican Party of Cameron County for endorsing, giving money to what many would perceive to be known Democrats in a nonpartisan race. And I think it's very important, Roman, for people like you, for activists within the community, to be seeking out what's in the best interest of the party. It's important for leadership to energize, to mobilize, to encourage possibly the next generation, to interest them. Hey, you would be a great candidate for XYZ position. Would you ever consider running? I think that is something that we lack here, Roman. It's important for people who are in the community, who are known within the community, to have an eye for that. And I think that is something that left a bad taste in people's mouths, Roman, where the Cameron County Republican Party invested money in what many outsiders would perceive to be as a Democrats in a nonpartisan race.
Well, I mean, you do have a problem because the rules that were passed by the Cameron County Republican Party in June of 2023, last year, 2024, last year, explicitly state, and it's on the Cameron County Republican Party website. Don't believe me? Go look at yourself. It's there. It says that if you're going to endorse candidates in nonpartisan races, that an individual needed to have voted in the 2 previous Republican primaries. I mean, so in this case, it would be let's say they wanted to endorse in May of this year, it would have to have been in March 2024 and March of 2022. And if they did not vote in both, not just one, but both of those primaries, they may not have participated in any other primary. It doesn't even talk about convention. It just says primary, which is, I find funny, because the Libertarians and the Green Party, they don't have primaries. But I guess somebody could have potentially participated in a Libertarian or a Green Party convention and get the endorsement, but they may not. But at the very least, they could not participate in any other primary, and I ostensibly mean they cannot have participated in a Democratic primary. And so I would be interested in knowing, since the party under the leadership of Deborah Bell endorsed and spent money, campaign dollars, donors for their party. If they spent money on Democrats, did Pedro Cardenas not vote in the 2022 or 2024 March primaries for Democrats? Did North Golansky not participate in either one? Are you telling me that they either voted in both Republican primaries, or didn't vote in any primary whatsoever? You would, a city commissioner, for example, like Pedro Cardenas, would not have voted in an election? Are you saying that he skipped out an election and didn't vote in any? Or are you? I'm based on the fact that they endorsed and they spent money, and I have no doubt that Deborah Bell doesn't want to violate the rules of the Republican Party of Cameron County that she and her friends pushed through. Unless they modified it. Did they modify those rules since June of 2024? Did they modify them? And at that point, did they modify them so that they would be able to endorse people that voted in the Democratic primary in nonpartisan elections? Or am I misreading the rules that they voted on and it's on their website? Did I misread it? Did I not understand it? I don't think I'm stupid, but maybe I am. But for some reason, they must have done some sort of vetting. But I know that Minerva Peña, who I think, by the way, we were going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. She did a phenomenal job last night. And I know that she came on our show, on your show, and commented, saying that there were some things that you said about Pedro that she didn't know about. Maybe that's one of those things that she didn't know, that he could potentially have been a Democrat. Who knows?
Minerva Simpson.
Did I say Minerva Simpson? Did I not say that?
I understood Peña, but
I'm sorry. I meant Minerva Simpson. Sorry about that.
Miss Minerva Simpson, who has been active within the Republican Party in recent years. So you're making a very compelling argument, Roman, from what I understood, and I'm going to dumb it down for myself. So you mean to tell me that they are bylaws within the Cameron County Republican Party where they specifically state that the party will only endorse candidates if they have previously voted in the last two primary elections? Is that what you stated?
In the Republican primary? Yes. And they had not just one. It says both. And if you don't believe me, Frankie, we can go to their website if you want to, and we can look at it together. If people don't want to believe me. Now, I didn't want to start with the ugly, but since we're starting about this, I mean, I might as well do that a little bit. I did want to talk about the good stuff that's happening in the party, and we can do all those things and whatever, however you want to do it. It's fine with me. It's your show, not
No. It's take the lead, brother. Whatever you want to start off with.
Well, honestly, I do want to talk about good. I don't want to be all negative. Everybody says we're negative. There's a lot of good happening, and last night, and this is me talking about the good. Isn't just about last night. It's about a lot of things. But last night in particular, the Cameron County Republican Women's Group. Now, and I'm not a member of the Cameron County Republican Women's Group. I don't go to their meetings. I don't. There's some people there that don't like me. That's fine. I'm not going to go places that I'm not liked. But although I will say that Minerva Simpson last night told me I'm welcome anytime I want to go to things, and I appreciated that. And but last night they did a few things. The Republican women did something very nice to a lady named Sharon Batterson. And I've known Sharon Batterson for 20 years. We were close friends. Now we're not. It doesn't matter. But what mattered was that Minerva Simpson and the Cameron County Republican women, alongside Senator Adam Hinojosa, State Senator Adam Hinojosa, they decided to present a flag that flew over the Capitol, and they honored a lady named Sharon Batterson. And I though my back was hurting me and I walked out for a little bit, I didn't know that was going to happen, but I walked in as they were doing the presentation, and I was moved by the fact that they did that for her. In large part because there were 200, 300 people there last night. I honestly have no idea how many, but it was a lot of people. And I looked around the room, and when they gave that award, maybe after the event was over, I went over to her husband, who I've known also for 20 years. Great veteran, just a phenomenally fun, nice person. Nobody can say anything mean about her husband. Her husband is such a great man. I truly love the guy. And I'm not gonna say anything because he's not very political, but he's active with his wife. I told him, Sharon's gonna be insufferable now, and he laughs. And I said, there's literally only 5 of us here in this room with hundreds of people. 5 of us here that were with Carlos Cascos when he won the Cameron County judgeship in 2006. 5 of us. And one of them was Sharon, one of them was her husband, one of them was Eddie Padron, the other one was Winnie Marshall, and the other one was me. And it really truly moved me, because when we were there, when we were being Republicans 20 years ago, I mean, I know it's 19, but it was before then. I've been a Republican since forever, even longer than that. And I even ended up talking to Pastor Brad later on, and I was telling him the same story. I was talking with Eddie, and I'm saying these names because these people are, I have arguments and disagreements with them, but it doesn't take the fact that we're all Republicans. And Brad even said, well, yeah, I was here in Brownsville, but I didn't know about the party or the club until you invited me, Roman. I don't think you remember that. And I was like, yeah, I do. And so that he came to our Republican club when I was an active member, and I still am an active member, but back in the day, and it was moving to see that there's so many back then. There were not a lot of Republicans. Yeah, Carlos won, but he really won because he was a Democrat running as a Republican and had all these Republican support. But the small group, they people have either passed away, they have moved, they're no longer active in the party, and it made me sad because I mean, even Carlos Cascos, he's no longer with us. And to see the good that there's so many Republicans, there was a gentleman that spoke up and did a presentation about all the silent auction. We didn't have silent auctions back then. We didn't have awesome silent auctions back then. We didn't do that kind of stuff. We didn't have the capability of doing it 20 years ago. And he did such a great job, and it was funny. I truly enjoyed it. But even though, Eddie and Sharon's husband and Winnie were not being recognized last night, I think that a lot of people, by recognizing Sharon, you were recognizing the past. You were recognizing the people that were there 20 years ago when there were very few Republicans, and we were very difficult to find candidates. And so I was moved by that, and it was good to do that. So I appreciated that. And so there was, Maggie. Oh no, yes. Sandra, that's right. But the thing is, Maggie's not she's not going to events. She wasn't there last night. Oh, there are other people. I'm sure there's Terry Freddy. She even got in trouble back in 2002 because she wanted to vote for Carlos in 2002. But no, Sandra, no, you're right. Maggie was around, but she's not there. She wasn't there last night. But I was just making the point that there was only 5 of us there. I mean, there was even Elizabeth Dearlam. I mean, Elizabeth wasn't there last night. But I was just talking about last night, Sandra. But yeah, and but just the fact that there's so few people there, and it was moving, and it should be. And so that's one of the good. There's a lot of good happening there. There's a lot of good. There were people that are standing up to run for office. I mean, I was sitting at Justice Clarissa Silva's table. She had space for people, and she came to a club, and she said, hey, I have 3 spots. And I said, hey, I'd like to go because I know that Big Aaron Pena, who's gonna sit with you, and I like to give him a hard time. He's one of my besties. And so, to have Clarissa, she's a Republican. She's from Cameron County. She sits on the 13th Court of Appeals. And back in the day, we couldn't dream about somebody like her being on there. And she did such a, I told her she did such a I've told her she did a phenomenal job when she spoke at the Hidalgo County LRD Lincoln Reggae Day dinner. Personally, I think she did better than Don Buckingham did last night. No offense, Dr. Buckingham, but I think she did a better job than you did. But it's fine. Everybody does their own thing. But, to have that, and then to have the guy named to my right, named Julian Martinez, apparently he's running against Cindy Hinojosa for JP, do I think he's going to win? Doesn't matter. But, we have candidates that are running. Great. And then you have people like Mauro Garza, who's running for county judge. He was sitting at the next table. You had at the head of the table, you had, Janie Lopez. She's an elected official, a Republican. And that's impressive. We had Adam Hinojosa, state senator, at the head table. That's impressive. Yeah, he's not from the Cameron County, but he represents us at the state Senate. And there's a lot of good happening like that. And we had Barbie Lopez, who's running for county commissioner in precinct 2, and now she was there. She's been a very activist, low-key activist, and she's a single mom, and she apparently wants to run for county commissioner because she has a message. And yeah, we always had candidates running here and there. I mean, back in the day, we were lucky we get 2 or 3, just like Sharon said, to run. But to have so many people want to run for office as a Republican is great. And I think it's great, to have candidates. But I think a lot of it stems from President Trump, a lot of it. But a lot of it has to do with Myra Flores. And I think that there are people that have pushed themselves to the top somehow, and they feel like this growth of the party is because of them, and it's not. Like, just like it's not about me. I've never felt that the growth is because of people like me. I'm just somebody who wants to find candidates. I mean, I was talking to one guy. I'm not going to say his name. And I'm trying to convince him last night to run for state rep in 35. And I told this young man that, you really should run in 35. I think we can win that race. I think he can win that race. And I told him a story, and it's a story I don't think I've told anybody here. But back when I was his age, I had wanted to run for state representative where I lived, because I lived in the Mid Valley, and we had a state representative there, and named Michael Wise, and I said, you know what, I want to run against him. No real business running. I was young, foolish, and I wanted to run there. And thanks God, it's the greatest Brownsville Republican Club, and great, I love it. And I had wanted to run, and so I went over to FAR to meet with the Republicans, and I told them that I went, and I still remember the suit I was wearing. We were in a green suit at the time, and I went in and I said I wanted to run for state rep, and I was basically told, no, you can't win, and it wasn't even the point about winning. It was about having candidates run. You can't win. Michael Wise is entrenched for Democrat. He's going to kick your butt. There's no point. We don't think you should do it. But there was one lady. Her name was Sandra Carreras. She's a Hispanic lady. She now doesn't live in the Valley anymore. Great lady. She became a mentor of mine. She was a state Republican executive committee woman. And she told me, Roman, you don't listen to those people. She had a very deep, raspy voice, and I love her. I love listening to her talk. And you don't listen to people. You run. And stupid me, I didn't listen to her. I listened to those stupid people. And I didn't run. And so when I told this young man, I said, look, he's like, well, it's like I have other plans, and I want God. I'll pray about it. I feel like God has to put me on a path. And I said, I was like, bro, I think God is working through me, telling you that you should do it. And I proceeded to tell him this again. I was your age. There was only one person who told me I should do it. We didn't have millions of dollars of contributions coming into the valley. We didn't have candidates all over up and down the ballot. We didn't have that in Hidalgo County or in Cameron County. I didn't live in Cameron at the time. I lived in Hidalgo. We didn't have any of that. We didn't have a packed room. This never happened 25 years ago. If I were in your position, I would do it. And so I think he's considering it now. And that's what I feel that I do, because I believe in people, and I believe that people should want to run as a Republican, and I want to. That's a good, and that's a good that I think I do, and then the people are listening. And but again, a lot of it has to do with somebody like Myra. You know, Myra has done a lot of good for our area in terms of the party. And there's a reason why I believe that she's going to be the nominee, and there's a reason why I believe she's going to win without a runoff. And quite honestly, she should. She's earned the respect of enough Republican that she'd win without a runoff. But that's a lot of the good in our party.
Very compelling arguments that you make, Roman. The GOP in South Texas, in Cameron County, have come a long way. When you talk about names such as Tony Garza, you know, he was a Republican Cameron County judge. That was unheard of back, back in the early 90s, Roman. That was a shocker. Carlos Cascos, who energized, who led the GOP movement down here. And there's no arguing, and people could vouch and say that, people felt proud to say that Carlos Cascos was our county judge, and he was a Republican. Mayra Flores, she changed the landscape. She was the one that made it possible for people such as the other candidates in District 30, the current District 34 congressional candidates, to even run, because as we all know, the Rio Grande Valley, South Texas, has been blue for the longest time. Mayra Flores, Roman, because of these pioneers on the screen, Roman, because of people such as Tony Garza, because people such as Cascos, because people such as Mayra Flores, it made it possible for these new candidates to even think of running, because back then, it wasn't the popular thing to do. It wasn't a popular thing, and possibly it's still not, but it wasn't a popular thing, Roman, to say, I'm a Republican. We get criticized yesterday. Yesterday was very evident. We had people such as Gamboa and Dwayne, which, I appreciate, and I want for them to continue, for us to have this, this dialogue. But many people are steadfast on, I'm a Democrat through and through. I'm brown. I'm a Mexican. I'm a Democrat. It shouldn't be that way. And hopefully throughout the course of these elections, we can, convey the message that we should treat elections such as a business. We should ask our politicians, what have you done for me lately? We spoke about yesterday on how, the Rio Grande Valley is one of the least educated, one of the poorest areas. Many people, in large part also to President Trump in 2016, 2014, 2015, 2016, that's when people started saying, hey, this guy's an outsider. President Trump, then candidate, he's not your typical politician. It started the wave, Roman. It started a movement where people who once were considered blue, who once voted Democrat, considered the idea of, well, what if I vote for an outsider, someone such as Donald Trump? And it possibly wasn't the popular thing to do, Roman, but what did we see from 2016 to 2020? You are giving very interesting data based on yesterday's meeting, yesterday's event of the Republican Party, the women of the Republican Party's event. Back in 20 years, Roman, I would dare argue and say that y'all didn't have large numbers. People weren't proud to say, hey, I'm a Republican, because you were going against the grain. Now, fast forward 20 years, all that has changed. South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, is slowly turning to the Republican Party. And rightfully so, because people, Roman, I think people are sick and tired of the same old same that we've had with our politicians. We don't want handouts. I want opportunities. And I think that is what people such as Tony Garza, people such as Cascos, people such as Mayra Flores have to offer to our area. And that is why people such as Mayra Flores is very compelling to people who once thought of themselves as being Democrat. You mentioned that you spoke with this individual, that you encouraged him to run. When you contemplated running, you were shut down quick. Maybe they weren't the funds available because maybe the GOP at that time said, "No, this area is blue. It's going to be a hard sell." Now, Roman, now would you dare say that a race in 30 and 35 could possibly bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, Roman,
Yeah, hundred
to a
percent.
candidate?
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm wearing my Governor Abbott shirt because, I support Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott is going to be here in the Valley today. He's having a major fundraiser for his reelection campaign in Harlingen today. And that's good. I mean, uh, and a lot of the money that he's going to raise for his reelection campaign is going to be used not only for himself, but he's going to use it to help fund other candidates throughout the state, primarily in the Valley, because they understand the need and importance of the Valley. And so a lot of these, there's a reason why, like in State House District 41 and State House District 40 in Hidalgo County, both are in the Edinburgh McAllen area. They're trying to find candidates to run. There's going to be several different Republican primary candidates that are going to run against each other, and the winner's going to get a lot of money to try to run against potentially an entrenched incumbent Democrat to try to unseat them. The Republicans, like Governor Abbott, understand the importance of trying to grow the Republican Party down here so that he can get larger numbers, so we can avoid these kinds of things when Democrats are not showing up for work. And I can tell you that, this is a dream for people like me and people like, I'm not going to speak for the people that were there at last night's event. I'm not going to speak for them. They can speak for themselves. But I think I don't think I could have imagined something like this 25 years ago, 20 years ago. It was a dream. I mean, I could imagine it. It's obviously a dream. But to see it in reality is just fantastic. And I got to say that, I'm a little younger than those individuals that I mentioned. I'm 20 years their junior. And in some cases, I think I might actually be closer to 30 years their junior. And I'm not going to let people forget what it was like 25 years ago. I'm not. And I don't want, and just know, I mean, we did have a Republican county commissioner, for example. I believe his name was James Matz from the Harlingen area, and he was precinct 3 commissioner, if I'm not mistaken. And he was there. I think he served when Judge Garza was around, and I think he was the only Republican for a number of years on the county commissioner's court. I don't believe he served. Yeah, he did not serve with Carlos Cascos as when he was county judge. Anyway, there's a lot of growth happening in our party, and I'm grateful for it. And I think that people need to realize that I am grateful for it, and we need to continue to have that growth. But with growth comes growing pains, and we've had a lot of growing pains in the party, and we have a lot of division in the party, and I guess that would be the bad and of the party. You see a very bad divide, and I'm afraid of the division being sown by certain people for whatever reason, and we're going to have a competitive primary in the congressional district 34. I don't really want to see a nasty, bloody, just hard primary. I don't. I mean, run your campaign the way you want to. I just don't want to see it getting really bad. And I don't mean blood like violent, like actual physical blood. I mean like I'm being figurative here. Okay, figurative.
Mm.
And and maybe I probably shouldn't use that word, but it is what it is. I used it, and I just don't want to see what happened to the party. What happened when we were a lot younger as a party when we had a contested primary, and I don't want to see that here. And we need to learn from that. And we can't afford to be divided. And I am doing my best and my part to try to be nice to everybody and let them know whether it's on this platform or talk to people privately. And I say, look, guys, we need to make sure that we're not mean, that we're not hard and stuff. And yeah, we can throw jabs at each other. You have that nickname for Eric, generic, and that's haha funny, and but I don't want to see the personal attacks. That's where it can get ugly. That's where it can get bad. And we don't want to see that kind of stuff. At least I don't. And unfortunately, I think that we are too divided right now. People are in their little camps. But a lot of it stems from the current leadership in the party. I think a lot of it comes from that. And I don't like it.
So, would you say, Roman, that after yesterday's event, you felt energized, you felt pumped of seeing the growth that the Republican Party has had in 2 decades?
Yeah, actually, I did. I felt very enthusiastic. I'm very happy. I felt really energized to want to help get other people elected. And I have. I am going to be helping candidates. Um, you know, hopefully candidates. I'm not going to be on right now. I'm not on anybody's team. I'm not. I've never been on anybody's. I've never been paid for what I do. Um, and I'm not asking to be paid. Just be clarification. Um, but I do think that we're going to have some very good candidates. Um, it was really enjoyable to see. Uh, we we've always had the candidates that come from the state that will come in. They have their fundraisers. Many times it's a Democratic establishment places where Republicans intermingle with Democrats to get money because they want to give money to Democrats. Democrats actually want to give money to Republicans so that Republicans don't try to invest in the valley. They can still maintain control. And that's been happening over the last 25 years. But what I will say, it's nice to see. Like I was at Governor Abbott's a private fundraiser for Governor Abbott last year, and I was talking to one of the participants or one of the other donors there, and she was remarking as to how many Hispanics. We're both Hispanic. How many Hispanics were there, and that when they started doing these kinds of fundraisers for Governor Abbott there in Harlingen, and they've done it every year for a number of years, there was barely any Hispanics, barely. Good morning, Sandra, and good morning, and Yada. I think I said your name right. And to see so many, like, oh, it was like, it's great, it's wonderful, it shows the sign. And the other thing is that it's people that she didn't know that were there at this private fundraiser for Governor Abbott, and I think that's great. It's fantastic. It's wonderful to see. And Dr. Dunn Buckingham said something yesterday that when she comes down to the valley, she doesn't want to just hop in, get money, and leave. She comes down here for 3-4 days, and I think that's great. And I think more people, more Republicans need to be doing that. More Republicans need to be doing that when they come down and grow. So yeah, so I'm happy. I really am.
You spoke about a divided party, and I myself have voted as a Republican since President Trump, so I have um, a decade. I did vote the very first time at 18 years old. I did vote for George Bush's son. I spoke yesterday how I voted for Barack Obama. I thought that him being a minority would be great for the country. That's probably one of the worst decisions I've ever made as an as an electorate, as a constituent. And I regret voting for Barack Obama in 08 and in 12. I'm 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 not afraid to to admit my mistake. Um, you talked about a division, Roman, within the party. And while I have been voting as a Republican for the past decade in President Trump's first campaign, could you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I'm very familiar with this new leadership compared to the old one. Could you let us know, without I guess going into great detail, what's the rift? Because and I want to know this because no party's perfect. No candidate is perfect. We know that. We understand that. But whenever I look at a person such as Jared Hakama, say what you want about Jared Hakama, he runs a tight ship. Again, do they have problems? Are they fragmented in the Cameron County Democratic Party? I'm sure. I don't really hear of it. I hear of of Jared Hakama running a tight ship. And Jared Hakama is very, in my opinion, he's very good at what he does. I do anticipate that this midterms he will be coming at it hard because we saw what happened to the Democrats in November. So for the midterms, I'm sure he's already salivating and working very hard to make sure that his candidates are visible, are active, have the resources needed. They have the full backing of the Democratic Party of Cameron County. Could you tell us, because I'm not aware of the previous problems that are going on, could you tell us why do you think this division arose, Roman?
Well, there's some people that want, purity. They want somebody like you, Frankie. I guess they want somebody that only votes in the Republican primary. They want to only have they will attack you if you're not Republican enough. They will criticize you for even trying to come in. I was talking to a gentleman last night. I'm not going to say his name. And the gentleman was telling me that he was a Democrat before, and then when he tried to become a Republican, people gave him so much crap. And I was like, I don't really care if you're a former Democrat. I don't care. I mean, Carlos Castro was a former Democrat, and he was a friend of mine.
Right.
And I don't really care. And because we're never going. If it was only Republicans voting, we would never have elected Carlos. We never would have elected Janie. We never would have elected Adam. We never would have elected, Alex Torres, Norman Esquivel, or Peter Delgadillo before him. We wouldn't have elected any of these people because you needed Democrats to be willing to vote for Republicans. And for some reason, you have certain individuals who think like you, Frankie, you're not really a Republican. You need to do a public information request for Frankie Foley's record. And I'm like, don't care. I know he's a Republican. I know that he supported Myra. He supported Myra from the very beginning. Hell, I didn't support Myra at the very beginning, and he did. Well, Myra doesn't define what the party is. The party defines what the party is. Okay. That's what was said to me last night. And to say that Myra doesn't define what the Republican Party believes, just so you know, Frankie, it seems like to me that just because you voted for Myra, just because you voted for Trump, does not make you a Republican.
Interesting.
And what's really funny is that when this person told me this, and we'll go into detail, I'll tell you exactly who told me in a little bit when we get to the ugly part.
Okay.
But I'm glad that this person realizes that a person who voted for Trump and voted for Myra does not make him a Republican, because maybe now this person can stop telling people that they've made that their Cameron County is a red county. I'm glad she finally realized it, because there were people that voted for Trump that didn't go down the ballot. And that means because of that, you don't have a Republican red Cameron County. It's not painted red. You haven't painted it red. Cameron County is not red. I'm glad this person has finally realized it. I don't think she realized it when she told me what she told me. That's what she was admitting. Congratulations, you moron. And I'm going to say you moron, because of the fact that you have tried to make it seem that the Republican Party is red. At least that's my perception anyway. Is it your perception, Frankie, that certain individuals that made it seem as though this county is red now?
It's apparent that it's not, because we would
No.
think,
It's apparent that it's not red, but are you?
right.
But I'm saying, do you believe that your perception that certain leaders in the Republican Party are making it seem that this is a Republican red county now because Trump made it red?
Yes, I agree to that. I agree to you stating previously that they think it's them who changed the minds of Cameron County voters, and they are the reasons why people voted Republican in this previous election and possibly the one before. I find it very troubling, Roman. Again, we're never going to find a perfect party. I want to make that very clear. I don't want to make it seem as if, we're nitpicking here, because at the end of the day, no candidate is perfect, no party is perfect, no voter is perfect. But again, at least and I'll speak for myself, at least I could recognize my fault and say, you know what? Me voting for Barack Obama in 08 and 12 was the biggest mistake that I've ever made. And I've learned from that. Isn't it hypocritical, Roman, for someone to tell you that, let's say someone like me who voted for Mayra Flores in 01, 22, in 21 and 22, who voted for President Trump back in 2016, is not Republican enough? Isn't that hypocritical? Because the party itself, Roman, we could talk about the bad, the party itself is contradicting itself. Isn't this hypocritical for them to say, oh, they're not Republican enough? Well, does that mean that Deborah Bell is not Republican enough, Roman? Based on whatever this person told you? Because Deborah Bell, and again, this is from her Facebook page, she is endorsing, look, I've heard from Pedrito's camp that, oh no, Pedrito is a Republican through and through. And I said, I find that hard to believe, but okay. It seems as if everyone just wants to jump on the Trump bandwagon as of late, Roman. These politicians, why is Steve Guerra contemplating running as a Republican Party? Does he see the decline of the Democratic Party in Cameron County? Possibly. I don't know. So is Pedrito a Republican? According to his people, he is. I would argue against it, but okay, fine. We'll give him that one, okay? I know for a fact Nudith Golansky is not a Republican. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. She's a Democrat.
I believe, it's my opinion, that Nudith Golansky is a Democrat, a hard D through and through. She's blue.
She is.
So
She is.
how can this individual that told you that yesterday, Roman, how can that individual look you in the face and say that a person like me is not Republican enough when their own Cameron County chairwoman encouraged people of the city of Brownsville to vote, and I would make the argument, for two very well-known Democrats? Am I misreading this, Roman? Because that is what I infer from this post. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I'll say that I don't think Pedrito is a Republican. And the reason I don't think he's a Republican is because the Texas Democratic Party gave him money or gave him in-kind contributions, if I'm not mistaken. And they're not going to do that unless you're a Democrat. I think, didn't he get contributions or in-kind contributions from the Texas Democratic Party at some point when he ran for office in 2022? 2021?
I think Chente gave him money too.
So you think they're going to give money to a Republican? No. And I know that Nurith is not a Republican. I know she's not. You want to know how I know? Because she told me.
Oh,
When I asked her to consider running for state representative as a Republican, she says, I'm a Democrat. How do you expect me to switch parties? She told me that. And you know what? It doesn't bother me. I voted for Nurith. I voted for Nurith in the past. I like Nurith. She's my friend. I care a lot about her. I have a lot of Democrat friends. But I'm also not the Cameron County Republican Party chair. I don't believe that it's wrong to try to get Democrats to want to switch parties and run as a Republican. I do not have a problem with that. I've never had a problem with that. I'm not a party purist like that, because I understand, unlike apparently the moron in charge of this party, that in order for us to be able to flip this county to truly make it red, you're going to have to try to get conservative Democrats to become conservative Republicans, no different than what people in East Texas did when it became a Republican. And I'm not trying to insult the county chair. I'm not, by calling her a moron, but it's just my word. I can say naive. I can say inept. I don't like the fact that this happened. I mean, Nora is a Democrat. I know, and Niata is saying that she's a Republican. She's not. I asked her to run for a state rep as a Republican. She wouldn't do it. And it's fine. And it's okay. I think she would have been an excellent state rep. You know, she's doing an excellent job as a city commissioner. I wish that her and Pedro, or is it she and Pedro? I think it's she and Pedro. Yeah. I wish that she and Pedro and Gus would unite and try to get a fourth vote on the commission to try to end the recycling tax, because I think that's vitally important. But North Galansky was the person that stood up to Tino and said that we should keep the tax rate the same, even though that is a tax increase, but keep the tax rate the same. It was because of her leadership. So I'm grateful for that. And she is my friend. I think she's more my friend than that woman is that endorsed her.
Roman, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me read some of these comments that are saying. So Darlene said that Republican here. I'm a true Trump supporter. Great. And I know you are, Darlene. I know you are. And then I say Nurit is a Republican. And then we have Christina said something. Christina Adriana Martinez said the reason is the people that claim to be Republican are not truly Republican. See, that's the Republican name only thing, right? I think there are people that I like there are people that voted for I know there are people that voted for Trump and voted for Chente and voted for Morgan Lamantilla and voted for every other Republican. Is that person a Republican? I mean, they're a split ticket voter. A Republican is a Republican and voters in the Republican primary. That's what makes, in the state of Texas, that's what makes somebody a Republican, right? They vote in the Republican primary. Frankie, I don't know what primary you voted in. I don't know if you voted in Democrat primary. There are people that I know that have voted in Democrat primary all their life and they consider themselves Republican. And they voted in Democrat primary here in Cameron County because that's where all the local races are supposedly decided. I mean, let's say you live in County Commissioner Precinct 2, for example. They're going to have a contested primary that Republicans want to sometimes pick either the worst candidate and go in there and vote for the worst candidate, or they want to decide I'm going to vote for somebody who more than likely, though at least they believe in the past, would win. Little do they know, these Republicans, little do they know that Precinct 2 is a very, 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 very competitive precinct. We can win that sucker. It is not like Precinct County Commissioner Precinct 1 that is like 65-35 Democrat. This sucker is like almost 50-50 Republican Democrat in the last 2 or 3 election cycles. A Republican can win it, the right Republican, but really that's what makes somebody a Republican in the state, is by voting in the Republican primary. And not everybody does it, and I understand that. And you know those people that vote in the Democrat primary but vote Republican in November? Do we know what we would call them 25 years ago, 20 years ago? Winter Republicans. That's what we would call them, winter Republicans. And I'm sure that people like county chairwoman, probably doesn't know that because she's new. And maybe it's because you have certain people that are new to the party that are like sometimes you have people that are Protestant and they flip over and they become Catholic and they convert. Sorry, they can not flip over. They convert, become Catholic, and they become really, really super Catholic. That's the convert, and they want I don't understand why anybody wouldn't be. They're really, really Catholic. Sometimes it's the other way around. Catholic become Protestants, right? But I really have seen it. And I don't have a problem with it. You want to be a recent convert and you want to have the fire in the belly and you want to do that, great, congratulations. But don't forget that there were other people here before you got here, right? There were other people that understood the dogma and understood the lay of the land kind of stuff. I'm not saying that they're better or worse than the new people. I'm not saying that at all. But they have experience. That's what I like to say, this Spanish, idiom. Cuando tú ya fuiste, yo ya vine. That's me. When you're barely going, I'm already coming back. I've already come back. And so that's what I think was happening with somebody like our county chairwoman, that she had this purity about her that nobody should be a Democrat, whatever. Maybe I'm just wrong here. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it. Maybe I don't know her. And I really don't know her. I really don't. Pero me vale. That lady me vale. Like I don't. After what happened last night to me, I don't really care anymore about her. And I just want to help people, and will continue to help people, and that's what I want to do. And that's why I continue to do the show with you, Frankie, because I want to help you. I want to help my friend. I don't think I've said parts of it in public, and I know I've told you, but I'll say it here now, might as well. Is that the reason I'm on the show with you, Frankie? There was you wanted me to come on with you for many times and help you out and everything. And after Erasmo passed away, and I would say, no, it's your thing. I wouldn't do it. A lot of ways I was mourning for your Theo. I loved him. I miss him every day. But at the same time, I needed a period of mourning, and then you kept pestering me, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm glad you were there for me. But I need to be there for you, because that's what your Theo would have wanted. That's what Erasmo would have wanted. Erasmo would have wanted. He didn't have any kids that I know of, right? I know of, but he thought of you as a son. You were very close to him, and I know you don't talk about your personal life here, and that's fine. But let me do it. I'll do it. He thought of you as a son. Whether you fought with him or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, you fight with your parents. It happens. But he cared a lot about you, loved you so much, and I know that. And at some point in time, I'm gonna die, and I would hope that my friends and family would be there for my kids. And so, how could I be a bad friend to Erasmo by not wanting to help Frankie? And it's funny because last night I was told I needed to stop helping Frankie. I needed to not help you anymore because you're not a Republican enough. And what's funny is that I was already planning on, in the next few weeks, just letting Frankie go on his own and let him continue on the show, because I think I don't have to do this. And I had a specific reason why, and maybe at some point that'll come up. But now I'm not. After what this person told me last night, I'm not leading Frankie. No, I'm going to be there to help him and take care of him. And as long as Frankie continues to have me on the show, wants me to be on the show, I'll continue to be on, because Frankie is my friend. I know that Frankie likes to say that he doesn't have any friends. He doesn't have a heart. He does. I know he does. And I'm not going to abandon Erasmo's prodigal son. I hope you don't mind me saying that, Frankie.
Well, you freaking said it already, Chinga. What do you want me to say? Edit it? Again, it's very hypocritical. It's very hypocritical to the Republican Party, to the constituents of Cameron County, to have a woman in power pretty much say that she is pure, that she's a Republican through and through, but yet she's endorsing. She spent money, the Republican Party's money, to get these people, Nuriz and Pedrito, elected in a nonpartisan race. That's part of the bad. I think it's hypocritical. I think it's hypocritical for her to even for someone to even mention that when the chairwoman is here endorsing what I would dare say Democrats. So then she, in my opinion, looking from the outside in, she's not pure. She's not a real Republican because she's encouraging her constituents who are Republican in the city of Brownsville to vote for a Democrat. To me, that's mind-blowing. It really is. It's kind of like, do you really understand what you've said and what you've done? I think these people think that they're holier than whole. And maybe that's something that they criticized Morgan Graham. Again, I don't know the details. I'm not familiar with the previous administration, with the drama. I think of it as a high school drama, the little tidbits that I've been informed of. But I do think that this is a slap in the face to the people, to the people of the Republican Party. How can you have leadership openly endorse and spend money of the party on known Democrats? That's something unheard of. And I want to continue, Roman, with the bad. If
Oh yeah, no. We'll continue with the bad. Let's go with the bad.
We'll get to the ugly in just a bit. We'll leave the audience wanting more of you, Roman, salivating on what you have to say. Just recently, ladies and gentlemen, there was an email that was sent out to all party precinct chairs from Quentin Lorenz, who happens to work for the Eric Flores campaign. And he sent an email that read the following: Eric Flores, working with your precinct. Attached, you will find a letter from Eric Flores, candidate for Congressional District 34, regarding our campaign and how we can work together in your precinct. We look forward to partnering with you in the weeks ahead to strengthen our grassroots movement. Thank you for your leadership and commitment. Best regards, Quentin. Our platform posted on this very issue, and it read, Cameron County Republican precinct chairs are very upset that their private email address was shared with the generic Flores campaign. Did Cameron County Chairwoman Deborah Bell give away addresses to generic Flores' campaign without permission? Is Deborah Bell tipping the scales in favor of generic campaign over the others? Why does generic political director assume these precinct chairs' commitment and the campaign is looking forward to partnering with them? What's your take on this, Roman?
Well, when somebody applies for a place on the ballot as a candidate for a precinct chair, there is an optional place where you can put your email address, and if you want to, and that's completely optional. And there has been a change in the election code that now takes that away and requires you to do a phone number or email address in one box, although it's still optional in another box to do the email. And it's still an option in another box. But they want you to provide that phone number and email. But that is explicitly in the change in the election code, is so that you can receive information as a candidate for precinct chair. It is not information to be given out to anybody, because the Republican parties, the counties or whatever, various counties are quasi-private. And I say quasi-private because they do receive funds to run their primary from state dollars and things like that. So it's quasi-private, and they are governed under the election code in a lot of ways. So it's kind of weird. But at the very least, these emails or this telephone number, they're supposedly be confidential. And that's according to the election code. And so the question it arises from some of these precinct chairs is, well, why did we get an email address? So did they sign something? It seems to me that they signed something that their private information would be given out to people, to campaigns. Is that a signature that come out? Is there somewhere in their bylaws? Is there something in their standing rules that allow for their emails and phone numbers to be given out to people for other candidates who want to run for office and they want these people's support? I don't think it's on their bylaws. I don't think it's on their standing rules to allow it. Maybe it's somewhere in the state party rules that I'm not aware of, which is very possible it's there. But I would assume that if emails were given in applications for a place on the ballot, that the party would not give out that email unless they had explicit permission from the precinct chairs to give out that email in another form. Like, I mean, they may have, like, when you go in and you sign in as a precinct chair at the party, you have to give your name, your email, and your phone number and things like that. Does that signing over your name and email automatically permit the party to give that out to people? I don't know. I would say no. You know, I would hope that the party wouldn't give it out. I would hope that the party would say, hey, I want to make sure that you're okay with me giving this out to candidates. And I would hope that they would do that. I want to say that our previous county chair would keep that information confidential. But for some reason, Eric Florida's campaign got it or was able to get it. I don't know how they got it. I honestly have no idea how they got that email. I mean, good for them. I mean, good for Eric Florida's campaign to contact the precinct chairs. I mean, you want to contact them any way you can. Maybe they cross-referenced it. I don't know. Doubt it. That's a lot of work. But maybe they did. Maybe they cross-referenced names with emails out and I got this email a different way or whatever. Maybe they got it that way. Who knows? But I mean, questions are being asked, obviously, by your message, your post. People are asking, where did they get the email address? Did they get it from Deborah? Did they get it from the Cameron local Republican Party? They don't know. They don't know these things.
Yeah, the questions were, because precinct chairs were asking, how did Eric Flores get my email? Our post the day after we made that public states the following: according to the Texas Election Code, precinct chair emails are not considered public information. The Texas Secretary of State says it, as does HB 766. The emails are not readily available in Cameron County. Public emails are optional according to the precinct chair applications. Emails are not even on the county party website. In fact, precinct chair emails are specifically considered confidential if given to the county party for the purpose of filing for a place on the ballot. The precinct chair application does say public email, but that is only to receive campaign information in reference to their campaign for precinct chair, not to receive unsolicited emails from primary candidates or their campaign. It is under the preview of an individual county party whether precinct chair emails can be released as public information if the party receives it a different way as its bylaws allow it. If one looks at the county party website, there is zero contact information available for any of the precinct chairs. Based on a cursory glance at Cameron County Republican Party bylaws and standing rules, no such permission to give out confidential information on precinct chair exists. A question now arises: who may have violated the Texas Election Code by giving away confidential information to Generic Flores' campaign? And this is a very interesting question that arose from this, Roman, because who would have that information? One would dare say the Republican Party. And I would assume unless someone has gone rogue, I would assume that everything would go through the Cameron County Republican chairwoman, in my opinion. Now,
Yeah.
this is something very different because Mayra Flores had an event in Nueces County. Anel, Anel Castillo did a meet and greet with precinct chairs in Nueces County for Mayra. She didn't force nobody there. It was optional. And, she did, Mayra Flores did have precinct chairs that did show up. So that's a big difference whenever you invite people and they're at that function. You ask, can I have your name? Could you provide me your email, your contact information? Would you like a sign? Would you like a cap? Would you like a shirt? That is how it's done. So it seems as if that these people are tipping the scale. And one person familiar with Eric's campaign did mention to me that Deborah Bell is actively working to get him to be the GOP congressional candidate out of the primary. We didn't see her with such as energized when Bam announced. I don't think she was there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think she was present. And I would make the argument that a chairwoman should be at every candidate's announcement party. Just the way we saw Jared Hakama, Roman, he went to Denise Garza, her campaign announcement. We all know the relationship that Jared Hakama and Sylvia Garza Perez, the current Cameron County clerk, have. But he put relationships aside for the betterment of the party. Would it be far-fetched, Roman, for us to say that it was Deborah Bell? Because now with Mayra, and again, for people that don't like to hear this or don't like to admit it, Mayra's a star. Mayra, whenever she's in a room, she sucks out the air and all eyes, all the attention. She's like that elephant in the room where everybody just gravitates to her. Is it fair to say that, maybe Deborah Bell does not like that? Maybe Deborah Bell is favoring a candidate that doesn't have as much aura as someone such as Mayra Flores has? Is it fair to say, Roman?
I think it's very fair to say that Mayra has a lot more gravitas than Deborah does. But Deborah has a lot to be grateful to Mayra, because without Mayra, she would not be the county chairwoman. Without Mayra. And there are a lot of people who know that. When people were block walking for Mayra, they were block walking for Deborah. People know that. So I mean, I don't know who the hell she's endorsing or supporting in this race. It seems to me that you might be on, I think you're right that she did go to Eric Flores' event. I mean, I was at Eric Flores' event. I didn't go to Bam's event because I didn't even know what was happening. I would have gone. But she didn't go to Bam's event. She didn't. And, she may like to, maybe now she's all neutral. I'm neutral. I'm not supporting anybody in the congressional race. I'm neutral. She has no choice. You know why she has no choice, you all? Because it's in the rules of the Cameron County Republican Party, and there's standing rules that say that she cannot endorse any candidate in a primary. It says that. So when you have people saying, oh, she's neutral, guys. She's not supporting anybody. She can't. She is forbidden from doing that. Then again, the county party is forbidden from supporting Democrats, people that voted in the Democratic primary in the last two, either one or both of the last two Democrat primaries. I really, really hope that Pedro and Nurith did not vote in either of the Democratic primaries, because I think they're Democrats. That's just my personal opinion. I think they're Democrats. And I say Nurith told me she's a Democrat. Why would a Democrat like her vote in the Republican primary? But I just hope, really, really hope, that they didn't vote in the Democratic primary. It might actually be better that they didn't vote in any primary whatsoever. Then they can get away with it. But I'm going to assume that that they vetted, that Deborah Bell and the county party vetted these two candidates and made sure that they made sure that they did not vote in a Democratic primary. I'm going to hope that they did that. I'm going to assume that they did that, because the bylaws as passed in June of 2024 say that you can't endorse, unless I'm misreading it. And if they did vote in a Democrat primary, that means they don't care about the rules. But then again, I know I stood up at that meeting. People were booing and hissing and getting mad at me because I was saying I don't think you followed the rules to be able to have the meeting to begin with. Maybe I didn't read the room, but then again, I want to make sure the rules are followed. I think rules matter. We are the party of law and order, not the party of make it up as you go along. That's the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party. But she cannot endorse, according to the standing rules that were approved in August of 2024. Unless they've been amended since. Maybe they have. Maybe they changed it. I don't know. But she's not, and if they haven't changed it, and that is the standing rule, she's not doing it out of the kindness of the heart to say that she's not going to endorse or anything, or she'd be neutral. She's not doing it out of the kindness of the heart. She's doing it because that's what the rule says. But do I personally believe that she's very supportive of Eric? Of course. Of course, that's what I believe. I can believe whatever the hell I want to believe. This is still a free country. This isn't Russia, like my friend Minerva Peña said at a school board meeting. And by the way, I did see her yesterday at the Brownsville Republican Club. I thought she was gonna be sitting at the table that I was sitting at the Republican Women's, but she apparently was unable to attend. But you know what? She goes to Republican club meetings, y'all. She does. She's a Trump supporter. She talks about God. I think she says she's a Republican. Does she vote in a Republican primary? I don't know. But is she? I mean, people call her a Republican. I don't know if she votes in a Republican primaries. They say she's a Republican. People on the board say she's a Republican. Everybody thinks she's a Republican in the school district. She says she adores Governor Abbott. She adores Trump. But I don't know if she votes in a Republican primary. I don't go investigate people's election information. I don't do that. I don't have time for that. But I'm going to assume she's a Republican. But maybe she's not Republican enough for Deborah Bell. Because wasn't Minerva Peña on the ballot in November 2024? Oh, that's right. She was.
She was.
And she is a Republican. Why didn't Deborah Bell and the Republican Party of Cameron County endorse in a school board race in 2024? They had full control of the party starting in June. Why didn't they endorse in that race? I don't know. I'm just wondering. Not like their endorsement really matters. I mean, there are many Republicans who didn't like Erasmo, and he won with or without them.
Interesting stuff. And again, Deborah Bell would not have been in this position if it weren't for someone like Mayra Flores. Wasn't it her team, Roman, that was actively campaigning for Deborah Bell? Yes. Wasn't it Mayra Flores' team that was actively block walking and putting up signs? Mm-hmm. Nobody knew who Deborah Bell was. You know, she wants to portray herself as being the savior of the party. She should be grateful. She should be, thank the person that got her in the door. It seems as if, correct me if I'm wrong, the little that I know from the rift from the previous administration, previous leadership till this one is a lot of the things that they were complaining about Susan Rubalcaba, Susan for the Corrupt, and Deborah Jobless Bell, a bunch of things that they were complaining about, Morgan Graham, they ultimately became what they were complaining about. At least that's what my information, the information that I have received, states. So
you had LC Garza comment on your page. Mm-hmm. Didn't she verify what you're thinking right now by saying what she said on your page? I'm assuming you have the you saw it. I mean, she tagged me in. That's the only reason I saw it, because she tagged me in it. And I don't have a problem with you tagging me, LC. I don't. Sorry, I
Yes.
interrupted you.
No, you're fine. That's a good point. What Roman is referring to is that I have been critical of the Republican Party of Cameron County. And these people in leadership positions, they didn't like what I had to say. I'm a Republican. And guess what they did? They blocked me. Now, I understand if people block me from their personal page. I understand that. But to block a constituent of your own party who is questioning leadership, that's mind-boggling, because that is what they were critical of the previous administration. And Elsie Garza, who I'm not very familiar with, I'm just barely getting to know who she is, and I have yet to meet her, but she was critical of that. She said, "You're mistaken, right? They didn't block you. This is a misunderstanding." And I said, "No, ma'am. I can't tag them on my post. I can't see the Cameron County Republican Party page on my post. So, yes, ma'am, they did block me." And she said, "Isn't this what we were complaining about? This isn't right." And shortly after, when she made us think about it, when she, was vocal enough, I believe after an hour or two, I think they unblocked me. They realized, oh crap, people do listen to this dummy. People do listen to what he has to say. So again, these people are hypocrites. People in leadership positions at the Republican Party are hypocrites. I hate to say it, but we have to call them out, because if what Roman is saying is true in regards to bylaws being in the party since 2024, where they will only endorse a candidate if they voted in the previous two primaries, did they do their due diligence, Roman? Did they investigate Nurit Golonsky? Pedrito, he might have voted Republican. I'll give him that. I'll give him that. I don't think he did. I think he's a Democrat, but let's give him something. We'll give him Pedrito. Nurit Golonsky is a diehard Democrat through and through. So I ask you, Roman, what would happen? What would happen if they broke their own laws, their own bylaws?
Nothing.
Is it just going to be like, oh, well,
nothing?
Do as I say, Roman, not as I do? Isn't that hypocritical of them?
It might be. And just for the record, Susan Rubalcaba, who I consider a friend, I hung out with her on Tuesday night at the Cameron County Republican Party meeting. I was talking with her, having a good old time. I love Susan. And I hope you don't. I honestly don't know if Susan wanted me to say this publicly or she was joking or whatever, but she wanted me to. She was like, "Hey, I'm sitting here with you. Neither one of us are part of the party, so make sure you tell your friend Frankie that I'm not up there. I'm not there." And I'm like, and it's true,
Not
neither Frank up in the on the dais or the main table with the parliamentarian, the secretary, the party county party chair, and I don't know, the executive director and the treasurer.
Oh, in the leadership position, within the party. Yeah. Well, the reason that I'm confused, and possibly others, is because according to what was filed by the Republican Party, it stated that Susan Rubalcaba was the secretary.
No, she was the treasurer.
I'm sorry, the treasurer. I apologize. The treasurer. Again, this isn't me who's inventing things. The party itself is declaring this. So
and she's not the treasurer. She resigned months ago because she told me herself she did. I don't believe that she should have signed a document saying that she was the treasurer, because she wasn't. She resigned.
Okay, so if she resigned, why did she sign?
I don't know. She shouldn't have.
Did they forge her signature?
Told me, but I don't remember. but I don't think she should have. She's not the treasurer. At the time that you signed it, you're not the treasurer. On August 1st, when it was submitted, she was not the treasurer of the Republican Party in Cameron County. And the reason that matters is because as the treasurer of a general purpose PAC, the treasurer is the one that's responsible for any potential issues with that form. It's not going to be the county chairwoman. It's going to be the treasurer. And so I don't understand why Susan did that. I mean, it's her choice to do whatever she wants to do, but she's not the treasurer. She resigned months ago. She should not have said that she was the treasurer between January and the end of June. But maybe she got permission from the Texas Ethics Commission. Maybe they asked, "Hey, I resigned in the middle of it. Am I still treasurer?" What? Maybe she asked for. I don't know. But it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm just a layman. I'm Roman, just a layman. But I don't think she was not the treasurer at the time when the document was signed.
Roman, there are many inconsistencies with the party, Roman. It causes great concern for someone such as myself who identifies as a Republican, who votes as a Republican, who wants to feel like I'm part of the Republican Party. Apparently I'm not, according to whoever you spoke to yesterday, that I'm not Republican enough. So you have this issue, this irregularity of who is the treasurer. Is it Susan? Is it someone else? Well, based on what was filed, Susan signed off on it. Based on the information that you stated, that according to their own bylaws, they broke their own rules by endorsing, by spending money on Nurit Galansky. So these people want to make themselves holier than whole, that they're pure, that they're Republicans. They're fucking hypocrites. And I'll call it to their face. I don't care who they are, who they portray to be. They're hypocrites, Roman. And the community deserves to know.
Well, to be clear, the rules, the way I read it, and I'm not a lawyer, but the way I read it, you can only endorse a candidate if they are voted in the last two Republican primary, both of them, or didn't vote in any other primary in the last two cycles. And I believe that Nerd voted in a Democrat primary. I believe that Pedro voted in a Democratic primary. That's what I believe, because they're Democrats. But that doesn't mean that they did. They may have just said, I just skipped out. I'm not going to vote primary. And there are a lot of people do. I mean, there is a reason why there are people that only vote in the presidential election in November. They don't vote in the primary. There are people that don't even know what a primary is, and they're Republicans or Democrats. They don't vote. They're going to vote in the general election because that's all that matters to them. And it's their right. It's their choice. You can do whatever you want to. You're an American. You don't live in Russia. And so, I believe that Pedro and Nurit are Democrats, and as Democrats, it would make sense to me as an active politicians, activists, politicos in our community, that it would make sense as Democrats that they will vote in a Democratic primary. Just like I am a Republican, I will vote in a Republican primary. There have only been two when I didn't vote in the Republican primary. There's only been two occasions. One was when my friend Tad was running as a Democrat, and he's my best friend, and he wanted to vomit when I did it. And I did it because, again, he was my best friend, and I went to support my best friend. Did I like doing it? No. Again, I wanted to vomit when it happened because I'm a Republican. And the other time was when, we want to make sure that Democrats pick the worst possible candidate against President Trump. Operation Chaos. Rush Limbaugh made that famous. That was it. Other than that, but even when I did that, I was like, I'm a Republican. I did joke. I'm a Trump Democrat, just a joke, just to do it, just to be funny. I'm not. I'm a Republican. Everyone knows I'm a Republican. I'm more Republican than most of the people.
Interesting, Roman. So we've talked about the good. We talked about the bad. Now let's talk about the ugly. I woke up, Roman, to a post of yours, and it reads the following: other than Cameron County Republican Chairwoman Deborah Bell telling me that I needed to stop helping Frankie Olivo and his very popular podcast because he's not really a Republican or something, that I needed to stop being a loser or something, and that she'll never let me in her winning party or something. I had a great time at the Republican women's event tonight. Her Majesty should know I have been a Republican since she was in diapers. I'm grateful and honored for getting to sit at Justice Clarissa Silva's table. She's a fine jurist from Cameron County, and we need to reelect her to the 13th Court of Appeals. Mm-hmm. What happened yesterday, Roman, at this Republican women's event last night?
I was very, very moved last night by the fact that, Sharon got something, and I'd already told you about what happened earlier. And I ended up going over and talking to Minerva Simpson. I said, I thank you so much for doing that for her. Like, you don't need to hear it from me, but I'm going to tell you anyway, thank you, because that was really sweet of you. And I really thought that was really the right thing to do, the nicest thing you could do for her, because she's done so much for the party. Some people may not like the fact that I would say that, but I believe it. And I try to be a fair broker, a fair person when it comes to that. And I was very glad. I actually, I was almost going to cry, and I think Minerva knew I was going to, and she walked away. Because you don't want to see me cry. I'm an ugly crier. But yeah, I was very, very moved by that, because again, there are so many people that are no longer with us. And it was like thinking back when it was not cool to be a Republican. So I was walking away from that little small chit chat, and I saw Deborah, and she says hi, and I walked by, and then, hey, what's up? And then we walked by each other like this, and it was just and then I turn around, and then I say, hey, Deborah, can I talk to you? Can I tell you something? And so we started talking, and I said, look, I think that was great that that you all did that, because I believe she's a member of the Republican Women's Club. I'm assuming she is. I'm not, but she is. I assume she is. I think it was really good that you all did that. That everybody, she deserved it. And I said, I don't know if you really, really understand, because she had said something about, I think I heard her say that there's so many people here, right? And I said, I wanted to let you know that, there are only 5 people here. And I'm trying to repeat. I may not get every single detail right, because again, I was kind of emotional. But she said, I said, there's a lot of people, only 5 of us in this room that were with, Carlos in 2006. And I named them off, and I said, the party has really grown, and there's a lot of good that's happening. And I'm very happy that you all did that. And I said, and I said, oh, well, thank you. She deserved it. That's what she said. And we were kind of sort of making small talk. And I said, and I went last night to the Cameron County Republican Executive Committee meeting, and large part I wanted to go because I knew that Susan would be there, and I wanted to make sure she heard from me to my face. I wanted to tell her in persona, in person, and to tell her thank you for standing up against the bond. And I think that Susan is doing a phenomenal job, and in going out and putting paperwork and detail about why she's against the bond, why people shouldn't be against the bond. So although she's not, Frankie, she's not, you all are not friends, and I and I didn't tell this to Deborah, but I did tell this to Susan. I would love to have you two come on the show and talk about it, because we need to make sure people hear why the bond is a bad idea. It's not going to happen, and that's just me. I know it's not going to, but it's fine. Anyway, so going back to what happened with me and Deborah, and I said, Deb, and she, oh, well, yeah, Susan's doing a great job, that's great. And I was like, hopefully I can, work with her and do anything I can to help promote why we should be against the bond. And then I said, and that's another reason why I wanted to go, is I was kind of hoping, and I didn't look at the agenda, because I don't get the agenda. I don't care about the agenda. That wasn't interested. But I was hoping that there was going to be an agenda item to have the party oppose the school bond in BISD, just like I said, just like you all did for the going against the bond, not the bond, but for the arena. And I think because it affects about half the people in the county, close to half the people in the county, this bond. And I was kind of surprised that it didn't happen, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Maybe you can call a special emergency meeting or something so that you can be able to do that, or get the Brownsville precinct chairs to unite that are in the district in Brownsville ISD, and get them to vote against the bond. And she's like, oh, that's a good idea. And I said, look, the one of the reasons why I really want this to happen or hope to happen is because I believe, and I've said this on the show, so this isn't new to you all, but maybe it was new to her because I don't know if she watches the show. I don't know. And I said, because I think that a lot of these school districts around the state in the valley are going after these bonds because they want to make debt so high that the state can't eventually take over these districts, because I think that's why compression is happening. And then she says to me, well, that's not something I said, I told her, because you may not know that. And it's like, well, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't, because, somebody who would probably know something like that would be Susan, and you can talk to her, you deal with her. And then she goes on to say to me, I'm being cordial. I think I'm being friendly. And I mean, I was, again, emotional, sad. But I still wanted to make sure, because we've talked at a couple of events previously. We talked at the Hidalgo County LRD. We talked at the North Cameron County Republican Club. I was kind of surprised by that, but I thought maybe there was a potential door opening there, where we can communicate. Because I mean, there's people that I don't like that can communicate with me. I mean, I actually spoke with Janie Lopez last night. Are you not shocked by that, Frankie? No, that's not. She walked by and I said, hey, and I said to her, hey, thanks for supporting Frankie's show and commenting or whatever. And she's, oh, great, yeah, Frankie's a good guy. So Janie and I haven't spoken since 3 days after she got elected in 2022 in November. We haven't talked in like 3 years. But I just want, because we walked by each other and she looked at me and she said, hey, and I said, hey, back. And then I was like, okay, well, she said something high first, so I guess maybe I can say something. And I really wanted her to thank her for doing that for Frankie. And anyway, so I'm willing to make peace and talk, but whatever. That's just me. Maybe that's a fault of mine. I don't know. But then that's when it kind of sort of got kind of mean and ugly, where she says, well, let me tell you something. Well, okay. Well, what's up? Why are you helping Frankie? Why are you on his show? If you care about the party, why are you with him? He's not a Republican. And I'm like, wait, what? No. I mean, he's a Republican. I mean, he's my friend. He may be your friend, but you're not going to help him because he's not really a Republican. He's not Republican enough. Essentially what she said. And I said, but he supported Myra. He supported Myra proudly and openly. And then she says, well, Myra doesn't define what the Republican Party is. We do. I do. I was kind of taken aback. And I was like, well, he kind of, he's a Republican as far as I want to help him. And then she said something about, she mumbled something that I couldn't hear because a gentleman came up to me. His name is Jorge Martinez. And he shook my hand and he said, Roman, thank you so much for introducing, something like, thank you for introducing me to Barbie. I was like, hey, great guys, goodbye. Okay, see you later. And he's walking out. And I think it le dio bastante coraje a Deborah, because some guy just interrupted us. She doesn't, I think it bothers, and this is my personal opinion, I think it bothers Deborah that people talk to me. I think it pisses her off that people still give me the time of day. And Jorge Martinez is one of the leaders of the Libre Initiative, a big think tank in the country that's promoting Hispanics to becoming Republicans. They were more libertarian back in the day. They're more Republican now. And the fact that he was, I believe that she was, le dio un coraje. And it's kind of no different than when me and Morgan were not friends, when she was the chair and I wasn't, and people would still talk to me. People would comment, hey, I need help. I need, and people would still, and it kind of sort of bothered Morgan. At least that's what my perception was. And we were good friends. I mean, we don't talk as often as we do because she lives in Austin and I live here. But we became friends again, and it was great. And she and Carlos and myself. But anyway, but I think it really bothered, Deborah. And then she said again, the PRI. And I'm like, I was still taken aback by the fact that she said something about Myra, and what she said about you. Oh, I think I'm leaving this out. I think she said this beforehand. She says something like that. I know you didn't go to the Republican meeting last night because you're there just to cause problems, to be a rabble rouser, and to record the meeting. And you and Frankie can do whatever you want to with the recording. And I was like, I didn't record anything. Like, what are you talking about? I still don't know what the hell she's talking about. Anyway, and so she said PRI, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm kind of emotional. Like, what the hell? Don't understand what she's talking about. And then she says PRI, and I was like, PRI, what are you talking about? Public information request. Don't you know what that is? And I was like, yeah, well, yeah, I do. But what do you want me to do? You should look up his voter history. You should be, before you start saying that he's a Republican, you need to do it. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't do that. I don't care. He's a Republican in my book. And I think there's a lot of Republicans that watch Frankie's show before I was doing the show because he's a Republican. Anyway, I didn't say that, but I'm just telling you that's what I'm thinking in my head. And then she said something else. And what did she say? Something to the fact that I said something to like, hey, if you really, she's something like, if you really want to be part of the winning side, you need to get on the winning side and stop being a loser and stop being with the losing side and hanging out with Frankie and doing that, whatever, something like that is being a loser. Something to that effect. And it bothered me because, again, I was trying to be positive and helpful and nice, and I was taking people's pictures and doing stuff because I wanted to be nice and friendly and, helpful as much as I could. And so when she says that not to be a loser, and I was like, well, I'm not part of the party. You made it very clear I can't be part of the party. I can't be you basically kicked me out of the party. And then she says, well, exactly, because you'll never be welcome in the party. I'll never let you be back in the party because you're not the party. You'll never be part of the party so long as I'm here, essentially.
Wow.
And I said, this is the second time you've done this to me where you think you're going to like that I'm not welcome in the party. And I'm like, I'm a Republican. I'm still going to be here with or without you. You don't mean anything to me. I don't care. And I was like, are we done? Cause like, it's like, I think we're done here. Like, okay, then walk away. See ya. But as soon as that happened, so that people don't call me a liar and say that didn't happen, there were 4 or 5 people that were near us. And as soon as she left, I immediately told them what happened. And you know why I did that? Because I want to make sure that people, it's similar to how when people say that they are sexually assaulted and they ask, well, did you tell anybody when it happened? And I'm not saying that I was sexually assaulted by Deborah. I'm not saying that. But, it's similar to like when you see something, did you tell somebody? I did. I told 5 people immediately what happened. So there was, contemporary things that happened because I want people to know that's what she did to me. And she didn't have to do that to me. She didn't have to. I don't even know where this came from. I don't know why she did that. I don't know why she thinks I was recording the meeting. I don't know why she thought I was causing rabble-rousing. And it's one of the people that I was talking to after, you were there. You didn't do anything. I was like, exactly. I didn't do anything. I literally just sat down. I talked to a couple of people. I mainly talked to Susan. That's all I did. I wasn't there to cause any problems. I was really hoping, just like happened at the Charlie Kirk event, that we were going to talk about Charlie, which they did. And I'm glad that they did because I think it moved people. There are people like Paul Feinbaum, who's a talk radio host from SEC, who now wants to run for U.S. Senate in Alabama because of what happened to Charlie Kirk. And I want to be united with my fellow Republicans, and I want to show support. And I wanted to show support to my friend Alexis, who's a young kid, and I knew he was going to speak. And I want good things for our party. And I thought that the idea is for us to be freaking united now, because you have stupid people that want to kill conservatives in cold blood. And I want to be united with my fellow Republicans to show that we're a good people and that we are united, but you have a stupid woman like Deborah Bell who does not want to be united with people and wants to tear people apart and attack people like me because I'm helping my friend Frankie. And I am more influential in this county than Deborah Bell will ever be. I don't need a freaking title. I do not need to be county chair of the Republican Party. And trust me, Deborah, there are people that want to run against you that have been asking me to run against you, and I'm not going to run against you because I don't need a title to be anything, because I am somebody. I'll always be somebody. I don't need you to be, I don't need your permission to do a fucking thing. I'm not your husband. I'm not your friend. I am other people's friends. And I know at some point somebody's going to tell her that I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I'm pissed because you did not have to do that to me. And I'm not going to be like one of those little precinct chairs that had to sit there and listen to a budget talk, to hide and cower because of what you had to say, because you don't want people talking. Because like you said to me, if you truly cared about the party, you wouldn't be dividing the party. Bitch, you're dividing the party. I'm not. I want to grow the party. I want to help the party. And I am doing it. There are people right now that are listening to what me and Frankie are saying because we are voices for the voiceless, just like Erasmo was. And guess what, mijita? Erasmo Castro became a BISD board member without your help. Without anybody from your little party, your little group that hated him. He got elected because the people voted for him. People didn't elect Mayra Flores because of you, Deborah Bell, and your little conservative group that you had in Brown. It wasn't because of you. It was because they liked her. They still like her. And they don't need you to tell them who to vote for. They're going to vote for who they want to vote for. And they are going to vote for Mayra. And it's going to piss you the F off. Because you're not going to be the important person in the room anymore. You're not going to, really and truly, you're not even the important person right now in that room. And I know there are people in the party right now that are not very happy with her, and I don't blame you. I'm not happy with her, but I'm not part of the party. I'm not in the Cameron County Republican Party. I'm not, but I am still Republican, and I have a microphone, Mita, and I will be using it to help Republicans, and I will be helping it to help candidates. And you're not going to stop me from helping candidates. You're not going to help me from being able to preach the word of the conservative movement, because you're not the conservative movement, Deborah. You're not. You're not the Republican movement. It's people like Trump, President Trump, people like J.D. Vance, and people like Ted Cruz, and people like Mayra Flores. And I do hope that somebody runs against you, Deborah. I really do. And you know how many signatures it takes for somebody to run against you? It's 4. 4 precinct chairs. And you don't think that I have 4 people that will sign for somebody to run against you? I do. If I wanted those 4 people to sign for me, they would. But I'm not running against you because I don't need to run against you. I don't want to run against you. There are other people who should run against you, because they would be better, more uniting than you will ever be. And I'm really upset because I didn't want this. I want us to be united. I want us to be, I don't need to be your friend. I don't need to be Deborah Bell's friend. I don't want to be Deborah Bell's friend. But I want to be united with a party that needs to be united. I'm done.
All right, Roman. Now tell them how you really feel. Interesting. What I took from that, Roman, is that not everyone is welcome at the Republican meetings. If someone who identifies as a Republican and possibly is not aligned with leadership ideology, then Roman Perez is not welcome at the meetings. So someone such as Frank Olivo is not Republican enough. He's a loser, according to Deborah Jobless Bell. What does that make her? She's a fraud. She's a hypocrite. It's funny because when we started covering, when I started covering the Republican Party in early May, I started getting a lot of messages from Harlingen, from a lot of residents from Harlingen, which I was shocked because my focal point was Brownsville. And now I have people from Harlingen, La Feria, Los Fresnos, South Padre, PI, heck, even McAllen, far Hidalgo County area that are plugged in and are tuned in. And one sentiment that I got, Roman, was we have no faith in this leadership. Everything that they criticized and they were vocal about against the former administration, they themselves became of that who they complained of. So I don't mind if she has something against me. I could care less what she has to think of me. But she's in for a rude awakening if she thinks that Mayra Flores is not a serious contender. What's going to happen? Let's say hypothetically that, I don't know, Mayra Flores wins the Republican primary in March. What is Deborah Bell going to do? What is she going to say? I don't know if she's running off of emotions. And Deborah, whenever you choose to run for a position such as this, you have to have thick skin. You can't let emotions get the best of you. Because ultimately what will happen is that you will be blinded and you will make fatal mistakes that people who are now seeing what you have done are going to criticize you. And just the way you and your group went hard after Morgan Graham, they're going to come after you and get you off as being a chairwoman. There's a lot of rumblings. I hear lots of things. I get a lot of messages from concerned constituents, your constituents within the party. They are not satisfied with the services that you have provided. Everything that you criticize the former administration, you have slowly become. While they are scared of retaliation from your husband, from you, from your family, from your friends, I'll tell you what they have to say. They call you a fake. They call you a phony. And they call you a hypocrite. They say that if it wasn't for Mayra Flores parading you around, people would not have given you the time of day. So for you to even throw dirt on Mayra Flores, who is a serious contender, Roman's even stated on the record that he feels as if Mayra Flores could win this election without a runoff. That would be very impressive. What would happen? Let's say, hypothetically, what would happen if Mayra Flores is the Republican nominee candidate after this primary? What's going to change, if anything, Deborah Bell? Again, be careful what you say because people are listening and people are greatly dissatisfied with your leadership. People are saying that you have higher aspirations of a higher office when you can't even manage the position that you have right now. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Republican Party. Roman, any last words for the people?
Yeah, it was something you said, Frankie, about when you talked about welcoming people into the table. And I am a Catholic, and I know that Protestants like don't think that Catholics should read the Bible. We do. And I'm reminded of the table that everybody is welcome at the table. To clean, but you are welcome at the table. Or the prodigal son that returns and you draw a banquet for that person. The prodigal son returns. You talked a little bit earlier about the prodigal, you being a prodigal son of Erasmo. And if somebody like you, Frankie, were a Democrat, became a Republican, you should be welcome. Everybody, that gentleman that is a Republican now that I talked to last night, who moved me to almost to tears, because he told me that he was not welcome as a former Democrat, and he had to work hard to prove himself. And I told him, you didn't have to prove yourself to me. You want to see a Republican, you're a Republican. I'm gonna believe you. I'm not here to judge you. But it's people like Deborah who like to clothe themselves in the Word of God, the Bible, do their, I guess, prayers, who probably didn't welcome this gentleman and definitely doesn't welcome you and doesn't like me. We're not good enough. And I'm not going to say there's a racial tone to it, but I will say that you, me, and this gentleman are all Hispanic. Why is it that certain people are judged more harshly by this woman and others? We are Republicans. We are the future of the party. I've been here for 25, 30 years as a Republican. I'm in awe of the growth of the party. I mean, I was the vice chair of the party for 2 years here in Cameron County under Morgan Graham. To see such wonderful, good people, good-hearted young Hispanics there last night is wonderful to see. And I love it, and I want to continue it, and I want to be part of that, the growth. And I will tell you that there are people that were not my fans or my friends that have become my fans and become my friends, and I become a fan of them, and I become a friend of theirs because they understand me. They've seen things now. They've understood things, and maybe, just maybe, it's maybe I should thank Deborah. You know what? I'm going to thank you, Deborah. I'm going to thank you because you, through your actions or inactions, have caused people to want to be friendly with me. And hierba mala nunca muere. Bad weed doesn't die. And I'm still around. I might be hierba mala. But when you told me, because I decided I wanted to help Jimmy Manrique, and I was supportive of Jimmy Manrique because he's a Republican nominee for sheriff last year. When you told me at Smoke Barbecue at the county convention, when you told me that you were going to end me, and I kind of laughed. I'm like, bitch, like I went up against Morgan Graham, and I'm still here. I'm still here, and I'll continue to be here. I will continue to voice what Republicans believe, what conservatives believe. I will always give my opinion. I will tell you what I believe is the truth, my truth. And I will continue to preach the gospel of conservatism because I think conservatism is the right way to be. I'm a proud American, a proud Texan. I am proud to be a Republican, and I'm proud to be an American. Or at least I know I'm free. You know, that's me, and I don't need you to tell me anything. I will take your apology if you want to apologize, because I'm a Catholic. I'm a Christian, because Catholics were Christian before Protestants were. Jokingly, I'm being funny here, but I'll take your apology. I will shake your hand, and I will forgive me for my trespasses. As you know, what is our Lord's Prayer say? Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I will forgive your trespasses against me. But when you go pray to the Lord on Sunday and whatever church you go to, ask for forgiveness for what you did to me. But I will forgive you, because that is the Christian thing to do. If Charlie Kirk's wife can forgive the assassin who killed her husband for what he did to her husband, I will forgive you. Because that's the Christian thing to do. But you need to apologize to me because I did not deserve that. I didn't. But again, I'll thank you also because I think you've opened up the eyes of a lot of people. But I don't want to be your friend, but I want to be able to be comfortable around people without looking over my shoulder, without feeling like somebody's going to attack me. And I feel right now that if I go into a room with her, somebody's going to attack me, come up to me and criticize me. But I didn't feel that last night at all until that interaction with her. So anyway, I guess I'll forgive you, Deborah, but you need to apologize either way.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Franco Levo TV. Best believe Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m., sometimes a little bit after, religiously. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Franco Levo TV. My name is Frankie. This is Roman. Peace.